Oh, the saga continues, ladies and gents. So, Warner Brothers released a statement following Cyborg actor Ray Fisher, his accusations, his allegations of gross misconduct by Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns. And I think it was John Berg as well. Yes, it is John Berg. So, obviously, he launched all of these very vague complaints. Warner Brothers issued a statement. They also said, we're going to investigate it. They've then released a new statement now, and then Ray Fisher has commented off the back end of that statement. Now, a lot of people have said this is Ray Fisher's John Boyega moment, you know, because there was that Vanity, I think it was it Vanity Fair? Anyway, there was a piece by John Boyega saying how the Star Wars saga pushes minorities to the side, you know, black and ethnic minorities, or whatever you want to call them, to one side. And that is quantifiable in terms of, right, well, you can see, you know, the lead roles, the lead actors, the ethnicity behind them. It's a quantifiable allegation, right? It's something which you can actually look at and you can go, I can see that. I choose to, you know, support it or, you know, disbelieve it or whatever. But it's something which you can see. It's tangible. Ray Fisher has never actually said what happened. He just said that he suffered like harassment and abuse and someone threatened his career. He has never said what has happened at all. And as such, when you're dealing with something which is a very personal perception, you know, in terms of harassment, for instance, what someone deems to be harassment versus anyone else can be completely different, right? Like, take YouTube, for instance. I did the video on Star Trek and the trans and non-binary, characters appearing. I was pro-trans, I guess. I mean, I literally said, no one cares, it's absolutely fine, it's been done before. The main gripe is the fact that CBS has now come out and said that these are the first. It's like, well, it's not, because here's evidence that it's not. YouTube, they perceive that to be hate speech. To actually be hate speech. They demonetized the video and obviously flagged the channel. Now, when you're dealing with something which is perception, unless you have actual tangible facts, what was said, it's best not to believe people outright. It's best to have a healthy air of skepticism. And this is what I have with Ray Fisher. And this is the problem that I have with this entire situation. And especially people saying, yep, this is Ray Fisher's John Boyega moment. It's like, no, it's not actually. It's not at all. It's nowhere close to a John Boyega moment. In fact, it's laughably way off base being a John Boyega moment. So again, always take all of this with a massive pinch of salt, right? Because nothing is quantifiable, nothing is tangible, nothing is there clear cut. It's all perception. It is all perception. And I use the example of Christopher Nolan not allowing chairs on set, right? Which is a well-known fact. He doesn't allow chairs on set, right? Some people, some pansy actors, because actors are notoriously pansies and lovies and, oh, look at me. Some of them would view that as harassment and as abusive, as misconduct. Other people would look at that situation and go, no, that's Christopher Nolan being firm to try to get the best result from his actors because he wants them to be working when on set, not resting when on set. Two polar opposite opinions. But because it's not tangible, it's not quantifiable, it's not a clear-cut, definitive, demonstrable thing. You see? Anyway, let's get into this. This article is linked down below. Warner Brothers has finally issued a response to Cyborg actor Ray Fisher's claims of gross mistreatment from Justice League director Joss Whedon, which was enabled by studio heads Jeff Johns and John Berg on the set of Justice League. Now, in a lengthy statement issued on September 5th, a Warner Brothers spokesperson noted that initially Fisher's representatives asked DC Films president Walter Hamada to talk to Mr. Fisher about his concerns during the production of Justice League. as the two had previously spoken when Mr. Hamada asked him to reprise his role as Cyborg in Warner Brothers' upcoming Flash movie, now together with other members of the Justice League. Warner Brothers alleges that in a July conversation, Mr. Fisher recounted disagreements he'd had with the film's creative team regarding his portrayal of Cyborg. So again, this goes back to a previous statement by John Berg saying that Ray Fisher did not want to say Cyborg's catchphrase, "Booyah." That is, unfortunately, what this seems to come down to, as well as Ray Fisher's, and again, this is just one side of the argument, Ray Fisher made adjustments to the script and they weren't accepted by the studio. Not a surprise, that's not news, that's not misconduct. But those two things, apparently, from Warner Brothers, is what caused the disagreements. Cyborg not wanting to say "Booyah," his catchphrase, and some script rewrites by the actor. And apparently complained that his suggested script... This is official from... This is a Warner Brothers statement, by the way. So, Mr. Fisher recounted disagreements he'd had with the film's creative team regarding his portrayal of Cyborg, and complained that his suggested script revisions were not adopted. Mr. Hamada explained that creative differences are a normal part of the production process, and that a film's writer, director, ultimately has to be in charge of these matters. Now again, a lot of people would be like, well, you sound like you're taking Warner Brothers' side. No, but Ray Fisher has actually not given any detail, any information about anything. At least Warner Brothers are forthcoming with their side of the story. Ray Fisher has given nothing. Literally nothing. At all. Warner Brothers further explained that Hamada also told Mr. Fisher that he would elevate his concerns to Warner Media so they could conduct an investigation. The statement also addressed a September 4th accusation from Fisher that he had received a phone call from the president of DC Films wherein he attempted to throw Joss Whedon and John Berg under the bus in hopes that I would relent on Jeff Johns. So, this is the statement. So you can better understand how deep this goes, after speaking out about Justice League, I received a phone call from the president of DC Films wherein he attempted to blah blah blah. But again, no information. Nothing. At all. Notably, Mr. Hamada also told Mr. Fisher that he would elevate his concerns to Warner Media so they could conduct an investigation. At no time did Mr. Hamada ever throw anyone under the bus, as Mr. Fisher has falsely claimed, or render any judgments about the Justice League production in which Mr. Hamada had no involvement, since filming occurred before Mr. Hamada was elevated to his current position. Now the statement continues, Mr. Fisher never alleged any actionable misconduct against him, where Warner Media nonetheless initiated an investigation into the concerns he'd raised about his character's portrayal. That statement is true. That is a true statement. Mr. Fisher has never alleged any actionable misconduct against him. Right? Now, he may have approached Warner Media on the side and said something like that, but as a broad term to the situation at hand, Warner Media has Mr. Fisher, Ray Fisher, has never actually revealed anything that was actionable. Nothing. Nothing which you can look at as tangible and say, well, this is what's... Like, there's nothing. It's all Jesus. Anyway, Warner Brothers then revealed, still not satisfied, Mr. Fisher insisted that Warner Media hire an independent third-party investigator, though the studio does note that this investigator has attempted multiple times to meet with Mr. Fisher to discuss his concerns, but to date Mr. Fisher has declined to speak to the investigator. Which we'll get on into a minute, because Ray has tweeted about that. Warner Brothers remains committed to accountability and to the well-being of every cast and crew member on each of its productions. It also remains committed to investigating any specific and credible allegation of misconduct which thus far Mr. Fisher has failed to provide. Because he hasn't. There is nothing there. Fisher would later claim that Warner Brothers' statement was a desperate and scattershot attempt to discredit me to continue protecting those in power. But you've given nothing. You have actually given nothing, Ray. Like, unless you actually tell people what happened, no, like, the belief in you definitely going to go. It's like saying that Santa Claus exists. It's only believable to a certain, well, to a certain populace, to a certain length of time. Like it has a half-life until people wise up and go, oh yeah, that's bollocks. Of course it is. Unless you give evidence, mate. Come on now, behave. And apparently, yeah, he did meet with the investigator via Zoom. But then the investigator said, hey, someone's here on the call with me. They are a witness. And then Ray left the call. Here's what he said. Thank you all for the support and for seeing through Warner Brothers Pictures' desperate and scattershot attempt to discredit me to continue protecting those in power. I met with the investigator via Zoom on August 26. Below is an email I sent to my team and SAGAFTRA immediately after. And this is the email. Hey crew, just got off the line with the investigator. Had to end the interview early. So Warner's comment of, well, he hasn't spoke to the investigator makes perfect sense. He hasn't. He got on a call when he ended it early. Before going into any detail with him. He's definitely been put on the case by Warner Brothers Pictures, not Warner Media. Your word against anyone else's. His findings will go directly and solely to Warner Bros. Pictures Legal. He also had another person on the line as a witness, that's standard practice, which we weren't made aware of. I told him I needed to have a rep on the line as security for myself. He tried to keep me on the line, but I told him I would need to consult my team before proceeding. Okay, can we jump on a call to discuss soon? But then you haven't been on the line since, have you? So what's happened, mate? And then, you know, he basically he also sent out like this video saying, you know, thanks for supporting me, you know, all this kind of stuff and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, fine, whatever. It's also worth noting that I made it clear to the world on August 21st that I would be vetting the investigator to ensure a fair and protected process for all witnesses. But you have a vested interest in that anyway. Anyway, whatever. Warner Brothers Pictures has escalated this to an entirely different level, but I'm ready to meet the challenge. It is right now just someone saying things happened, and Warner Brothers going, well, we want to talk about it, but nothing's actually happened, and he won't talk to any investigator. It's just such garbage. And again, give us something first, Ray. Give something. You've not given any evidence. There's no evidence here, mate. You've not even said what's happened. But whatever. This controversy is unlikely to end anytime soon, as though Ray Fisher has allegedly been in on negotiations to play Cyborg in the upcoming The Flash film. But that's probably going to fall through, isn't it? Let's be honest. Because it just... Look, from an outside perspective looking in, he's not said anything, right? And again, those people say this is his John Boyega moment is utter garbage. Like, it's totally off base. You are... If I told you pigs fly, would you believe it? No, of course not. Why are you just randomly believing this guy saying random things? And it's not even to say that it's unlikely, because it is likely. But unless you provide anything, it's starting to fall through that it's likely to have happened to you. Because given the circumstances surrounding you, Ray, your involvement in this film, your character being cut off, you know, and things like that, it is actually starting to sound like sour grapes, because you've given no evidence. There's no tangible point of what you're trying to, you know, say and make claims on. So that's starting to sound like the more likelihood here, isn't it? But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know that there are people that blindly support him. I'm one of these people that, you know, I like to wait for more evidence to come out. And you'd think by now he would have said something, and he hasn't. So it just sounds like bollocks to me. But whatever. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Guys, if you are a returning subscriber, please do check the bell is turned on to notify all, because people have popped up and said, yeah, I haven't had a notification for weeks. So just check. Thanks so much. Take care.